right, next mission. Surrendered. Unable to break out without any hope of getting relief or supplies, the remainder of the Sixth Army surrenders at Stalingrad. The strategic victory of the Red Army marks the turning point in the war against Germany. Yes, Stalingrad. I've only watched bits and pieces of it, but the YouTuber TIK has been doing a very in-depth look at Stalingrad. If you want to see a video version as opposed to reading all the books that he has been reading to base his work on, you can watch his stuff. Would recommend it if you're interested. He does much more in-depth stuff than I do. Stalingrad, like they say here, is the turning point in the war. I could, yeah, just in so many ways. One, and I do know that the objectives, was it? Oh boy, I'm forgetting. Fall Blue? I don't know. The whole Caucasus campaign. Offensive did change during its operations from when it started and whatnot. And originally Stalingrad wasn't terribly important to the, you know, the planners and the whole thing. It was cutting the, this is way out over here, cutting the Volga River traffic was important. I know we're talking about Tunisia, but this is the turning point and they brought it up. So it wasn't like the Germans set up an operation to capture Stalingrad. It was, they set up an operation, well, it's about the same type of thing, setting up, same point I'm trying to make, an operation to capture the Caucasus, or at least to cut the Caucasus off from the rest of the Soviet Union. Presumably, I think they thought they would just collapse and fall down there, but either way. And so they failed to do that. They failed to achieve their objectives. Yes, they failed already to achieve their objectives with Barbarossa, but those were many-fold, and you know, they were defeated, in my opinion, they were defeated as much by simple space that they were trying to, you know, occupy and wearing vehicles out, wearing tanks out, as they were defeated by the Soviets. You know, you put a long march in front of somebody, and they don't quite get to the end of the march before the weather changes. That's a little different than what we're seeing with Stalingrad. Because yes, the counterattack does happen in the wintertime, but it wasn't the inability to get to Stalingrad in good weather. So the Germans aren't able to achieve their objectives, and that's part of it. And their major objective for that year, they were unable to achieve it, and it was a limited objective. It wasn't, again, like Barbarossa is, defeat the Soviet Union objective. This is a limited geographical objective. They're unable to achieve it. The Soviets fight them to a standstill. And then, mainly due to their allies, they get surrounded. I would contend, but I'm not sure on it, that the Germans could have fought their way out of the Stalingrad pocket had they really tried to, and early enough, because I know they tried to do a break out and break in, but again, my limited understanding of it is that although they tried to withdraw, they tried to break out, they were still sort of kind of doing some holding action in Stalingrad, because if they were, my idea of a breakout was just everybody were going west, pick up your rifle, pack as much food as you can carry and ammo, and start going west. And you try to do it in a coordinated manner, of course, but as opposed to a route or, whatever, but really, really try to move west. And thanks, Tony First Gen. Good to see you here. So, it was a half-hearted breakout, and von Manstein trying to break in. I think he was, with the resources that he was given and had available at that time, and I'm taking this some from reading von Manstein's book, so it's his views of things, and it's been many years since I've read his book. I mean, as in like 20 years. So I'm sure I'm getting some of this stuff wrong on all of this, but I think I'm getting the general picture. I think he did a dedicated, a wholehearted attempt to break in, but just with the forces and ammunition and whatever you want to say that was available to him, made available to him either. And I say made available, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were like keeping him on a short leash or not sending him what he wanted or needed. It can be simply the supply chain, the railways and whatnot, are limiting getting stuff to him. But what is made available to him, he really tries, I do believe. But I still think there is a high command at that philosophy attempt. They're philosophically, they want to break out and break in to then renew next year's, next spring's offensive against the Soviets. I think there's that still mental idea with them that they were just trying to reestablish supply lines as opposed to trying to scramble everybody out of the pocket. Yeah, it was perhaps more like a reconnect attempt. Yeah, doomed to fail because they didn't put enough force into it. Yes, Beam Slam. Because I don't think, again, I wasn't there, obviously, but then too, I haven't read everything. I don't think the Soviet encirclement was so tight that units couldn't have, filtrated out, fought their way out. And now they might have only had 50% of the unit strength by the time they made it out, which is devastating. But still, that's 50% of a platoon, of a company, of a division, of whatever, after it sort of fights its way out. But they ended up having that kind of attrition, I do believe, in the Soviet gulags that they were all sent into. And the Germans had to know, it wasn't going to be good to lose to the Soviets and surrender to them. So, yeah, it wasn't done well. And had you seen the mental flexibility of the German High Command, and I try to say it that way because it isn't just Hitler, but Keitel is more or less a yes man to Hitler. And, it's just that whole sort of thing that even though you didn't take the earlier suggestion of let's retreat back to more defensible lines since we didn't get Moscow, reorganize our forces, defend for a year or whatever, campaign season, and be ready for the offensive again and fight smart and bleed the Soviets white instead of the Soviets bleeding the Germans white kind of thing. Looking at it as, I guess, maneuverable, attritional warfare kind of thing that people like von Manstein and others wanted to do instead of a World War I positional warfare, because they saw that the planes and tanks didn't make sense to build a fortified line and somewhere along the Soviet Union and defend that line in every instance to the last man. They saw it as a sort of like a version, though maybe covering back and forth less overall terrain, but sort of like the idea of what Rommel was trying to do in North Africa. Retreat when you needed to. Once the enemy overextends, counterattack and destroy those forces, in detail and push forward. Do that instead of back and forth over great distances like he was doing down here, doing that along the lines here. The German high command doesn't have that flexibility. But then again, if I don't know how much, because we, at least, and I'm sure we all do, we're projecting back on World War II, and so we see the clock ticking for Germany, that it's going to be doomed, and we see that, because, and I've reevaluated, and I won't go into it now, my likelihood of the Nazis getting a nuclear bomb is more likely, but really more, because I thought they were nowhere near, but I've sort of reassessed, but it's 47 or something, not, but they were more along than I thought they were. But I don't know how many they would have had, and blowing one up in London doesn't win you the war. I mean, even taking out New York or Washington, D.C. does not win you the war. So, well, we can talk about this some other time, getting far afield. But we see that America gearing up, Germany is on a countdown clock. They've got to win by a certain point, clear out the continent of Europe, and show that they can defend the continent from naval invasion, and hey, we get to win then. We see the time clock. I don't know if they would have seen the time clock with America. The Germans would have. And as I've always said, warfare is a political act. What would have happened had the invasion, the Torch invasion was a failure? What would have happened had a later, post that, D-Day type invasion was a failure? In Britain or in the American politics, would they, enough is enough, even if they've learned their lessons and moved forward. There's a lot of interesting things there. But so yes, this is the major turning point of the war. Okay, we've gained 4 specialist points. Let's take a look. Okay, we've got a bunch for Britain here. Okay, well, let's see. Tank school. Yeah, let's do tank school. Hello, Eric. How you doing, my friend? And hello, Eraser SK. Yes, we are playing the Americans, actually in North Africa currently, but yeah, in the Greater European Theater. I had kind of forgotten we were talking about Stalingrad there. Yep, I do get far afield. Rein me in if you start to see me going too far. Drop tank special. Ooh, we like that. We'll do that. And British aircraft are sometimes known for limited range, so we will do drop tanks. That sounds good for there. War economy. Yeah, we'll do economy for Canada. It's the old colonial Canadian flag. And we only have 4 points here, so it doesn't allow us enough to buy anything for America, but we did spend there. Yeah, I hope your job's going well for you, Eric. Okay, so in an attempt to regain the initiative and expand their position in Tunisia, Axis forces have captured key mountain passes and are now probing U.S. defenses. Ooh, is Kasserine going to be one of the names we'll see on the map? Let's start my ship briefing. After we failed to seize Tunis, the Allied buildup continues with steady influx of troops and equipment. New airfields in Algeria and Tunisia became operational, allowing us to field more aircraft. In January, the British 8th Army took Tripoli, Rommel's main supply base. The Desert Fox switched his supply lines to Tunis, though while the Brits were blocked at the Mareth line. Yes, the Mareth line was the French defensive line that the Germans sort of occupied and used against the British. Allied air and naval forces are now interdicting Axis convoys with increasing success, but Rommel had received reinforcements already. Now the Germans are advancing through several passes in the Atlas Mountains. As Lieutenant General Ferdinand scattered our units widely across western Tunisia, we were caught with our pants down. I guess he should have spent more time on the front than in his new bunker at Tabessa. Yeah, I understand he got fired or something. I think that was him maybe when Eisenhower came and saw this huge bunker complex. That was his command bunker. Expect fierce combat against well-equipped panzer forces spearheading the attacks. Hold Sidi Bouzid long enough to buy us more time. There is not much room for maneuver or withdrawal, so prevent swift collapse of our lines at all costs. Air support is limited to our forward airstrip as low capacity only. Luftwaffe could be better off, though. You may fall back somewhat once you dealt with the initial onslaught. You have to hold the road to Sabita. G2 intelligence suggests enemy attacks here are coordinated with German and Italian advances in other areas. If those various Axis formations are allowed to link up, we may find ourselves in an even bigger mess. Strike back at the enemy armor at every opportunity. Inexperienced guys have a hard time fighting off veteran Wehrmacht units. Serious tank losses will deplete Rommel's offensive strength, so that we have to face less of his tanks later in later operations. Start game. Okay. Hold Sabetla. I don't know how to pronounce that. On hold the other place and inflict 24 damage on Axis tank units. Well, that was a fun briefing. Hello, PS. Yes. Okay. This map. Okay, this is a very. We have the depth. I guess we have to hold this up here because that's 2 there. This is a secondary hold, and we should expect to see tigers. Looks like we have 1 set of mines there. Field up there. Now, I'm going to do, and we have lots and lots of points. So let's purchase a tactical bomb. Okay, what I'm... Yeah, it's torpedo, so that is no attack against ground units. I'm really more into. Okay, this has better air defense. Yeah, that could be good. So we're gonna go get one of the Havocs, purchase and deploy. And we're still running some Spitfires here. Let's take the better unit and deploy that. Good. Wanted something to bash on any tanks. Look forward to the combat you can handle. Toodles. Yes, that does seem about like what they were saying. Now, let's also look here for anti-tank. Okay, so we have Wolverines. Yeah, this is going to be better than that. It's 5 points. M10s. Yeah, let's go with an M10 here. But it's sort of behind this minefield. Here, now we're going to put some heavy infantry. Now these guys are in trucks, so they may get destroyed where they're at, but at least we can see about trying to defend a bit. I'm just looking, we have lots and lots of points. So we're also going to pick up one of these. Yeah, we'll do trucks. 3 points. Oh, yeah, I just purchased that. I purchased 2 of them. Okay. Which right behind this bridge. So that's their sort of main path of advance. Put these guys here to fall back to there. Use the Kingfisher again because we have 1 point left for aerial reconnaissance. We'll put them up here, keep an idea of what the enemy is doing. Yeah, I guess we'll throw in some heavy infantry there. Don't know if it's worth trying to blow the bridges to slow them down. With engineers. Only 2 points though, but let's... Are they going to push down here? Well, planning, hoping to hold that river line. I'm not going to spend, that would leave me 6 points. 6 points. Artillery and the Rangers and the Engineers. Okay, that would, yeah, okay, so we will purchase and deploy that, and I'll try to shift them over to here. Artillery. Yeah, I may come ferociously that way, so we'll put the artillery there. That leaves 2 points. Yeah. We can put They're going to get turn one and they're going to come fast and hard up here. Yeah, we're going to leave that bridge intact, I guess, and blow this one, maybe. Once we retreat, well... I'm hoping to save these guys. Maybe it's forlorn hope, but wonder if they would wade easily across the rivers on this map too. Yeah, well, okay. I'm not sure how difficult it is to, or the difficulties for fighting across the bridge versus fighting across the rivers. I know obviously you can move a lot faster across bridges. I'm just not sure on that. Okay, so that's all of our points here. And so, well, we have these points, so let's reinforce that up completely. Okay. Force. Terrain tractors with 150mm infantry guns, Panzer IIIs. Because they turn, the beginning of the turn would have weakened all of their other attacks. Okay, they think we should just hold this for 4 turns is their sort of magic number here. We'll certainly see about that. Or moving back a little over to there, but not a member or not a core element of our army, so we'll just reinforce them this way. Try to keep them alive. These guys here, we'll move them into there because I do believe there's a tank there. So no, I think holding the hill for the moment is all right. We can fall back this other way, hopefully. No, not even going to bother with that. Just hang out. Oh, cancel, cancel, cancel. Got my ear. There you go, just what I wanted to use this for. Okay. I think we're going to leave him right there, and he's going to strafe these guys. That way they're protected, flying escort for them as well as strafing ground units. Alright. Well, no tigers yet. Oh, cancel, cancel. Almost forgot to move these guys up here. Yeah, that looks like a good spot. Anything else I want to move up? No. Now go. Whoa. Circling around me. I didn't anticipate that. it's a stud. Okay. We captured the hill. Well, they sacrificed themselves to delay the enemy advance. Well, probably should have moved them first turn. See if they can survive moving back now. Huh. Attack. Well, I'm gonna risk not escorting them for the moment. Flying it over to here, good. That's good. Still being escorted. Want to see what's coming at me. See if there's any tigers. I know there's a tank here. Get you back to there. Okay. Let me help escape. Yep, they might decide to push themselves up along here. But we do have the tank and the tank destroyer ready to react. Let's see what they do. Oh shit! Oh shh! You know how I hate not having, or misclicks like that, not having the undo button. Ugh. Artillery on the front line. What you're seeing here is an anti-tank gun. Hello, Hannibal Bonaparte. Interesting combination of generals there. That's an anti-tank gun there. So yeah, it's on the front line guarding the bridge from tank attacks. And this is artillery back a little ways. Got a infantry cover there. No, you just didn't recognize it, and it's, you know, on the stream. Oh, yeah, we're gonna pound this guy. Badly. Oh, he's retreat. I don't know what the AI is doing. Bring up their Lorraine tractors. That misclick's gonna cost me that unit, I think. That's what I... So the one thing I really don't like about this game is the inability to undo a misclick like that. I get the idea that, you know, You bounce into a hidden unit. You're not supposed to be able to undo that. I get the idea. Oh, hello, we're down here. I didn't even notice the advance down here. Okay, well, but, yeah. Oh, we also have armored infantry killers. Well, I think we've saved them. Well, nah, I didn't want them. Didn't want them down there. Got my scout units here. Okay. So they are coming down. Units are coming down here. Maybe that's what all these guys retreating are thinking they're doing. Make the swing around. I'm looking for tigers. Wow, look at those guys sinking into the sand. That's a messed up bit of graphics there. Compared to them. Careful not to move them out. Okay, just continue to hold. They should have attacked that unit with another. Well, maybe they'll take it out with tanks. Yeah, let's take out tanks. Yep. Lost the unit because of a misclick. Yeah, it could have gone back to an earlier save, but it's the only real recourse you have. The AI is being smart. They've tried a flanking maneuver. There. There's the tigers. Okay, 4 turns. Okay, so we've held this town here long enough. Okay, good. Additional troops have arrived. Don't expect more reinforcements soon, so make good use of them. Right. Oh, good. We've got an M8 with the little short-barreled 75 howitzer, support gun, and a Lee. Very good. Good. Make sure you don't misclick. All right. First, I want to packing some. Good. Now they have an advantage, and that is not good. They can get back to there. Good, that's what I wanted to see. Okay, so they can drive back to here. These guys... Oh, where do we want to go? We'll go here. That may or may not be survivable. Maybe I should have moved these guys here. Yeah, probably should have moved that, but I don't know. You get out of the river to there. Probably should have shot with those, but weaken them. Yeah. Suicide missions, too many, yes. I want to see if there's more forces coming this way. Maybe not just these guys. No, we have the tigers up here. Now what I want to do is purchase another one of these, because fortunately I do have there's a destroyed unit. Yes, we want to do that. And okay, we go there. Bring that unit back. There we go. Now here, I'm going after this one because that way, if Messerschmitts or something shows up, we're still escorting our armor force there. Well, they're taking a bit of a pounding. Maybe we'll turn, send them to the airbase to get reinforced. Tigers gone into there, and our attacking engineers. Probably should have moved the tank and retreated them to there. Yeah. Airstrike, how interesting. I would have moved one of these guys up to take him out and use the air on something else. Okay, lost my engineering unit. Stupid movements. I should, no, well those are the two aircraft we're fighting are Ju-87 Stukas. So yeah, they do have rear-facing machine guns. But I'm more worried about fighters actually showing up. Well, these guys are going to go back and land at the airstrip. We'll get reinforced. I think we will just Tigers because they're fearsome opponents. Good, knocked him down by one. And since we did see we have a bit of advantage of striking it down the river, we do so. Howitzer, so let's be aggressive with our AT guns. And we might as well shoot machine guns at them. Oh hey, machine guns actually work. Yeah, well, it's partially the zoom level here. Hannibal Bonaparte, sort of like that. Now you can maybe make the amount of noise over the river there. Just Duca. So you can zoom in. The models are decent. I mean, they're a bit dated now, but they're not bad. So you do have that. But just trying to give both myself and you guys a bit of a fuller picture of what's going on. Okay, we're going to, because we want more mobile units down here. It's tanks down over there. These guys, we're just going to move them out of the way of the battlefield and reinforce them. I'm going to right now purchase placement, maybe 42 engineers, yes. We have them, so yeah, newer engineers. And for me, looking at my screen here, I can differentiate the models well enough that may not be coming in so well for you guys on the stream. I'm sorry about that, but you can clearly see, at least zoomed in, that that's an M3 Lee, M8 howitzer vehicle. Still staying mostly on the defensive. Earned up a lot of points replacing those 2 lost units. Don't like that at all. These guys to here, just in case they... I'd rather battle them in the river than letting them get across and then battling them. Because OOB is not fully 3D, some models are a bit funky, but most are okay and recognizable when you play with them. Yeah, hello. I always mess your name up. I don't know how to pronounce it. Ilig? I don't know. Yeah, sorry about that. Some names I'm just going to butcher. Yeah, when we saw over here, there was an infantry unit that looked like it was 3/4 buried in sand. You still have, if you're looking at, and we, they're both published by Slytherin, Panzer Corps 2 with its true 3D models more than the sprite type things here that are better, but even there they will not be partially buried by hills. So things are getting better as time goes on. Obviously it's not perfect, but I still think this is a very fun game. How interesting. Just noticed here on this model here, I think they have it wrong. but I am not sure if this is supposed to be some sort of early, because there's supposed to be storage bins on the back of this turret, because they're right, it does sort of angle in, but it looks, I'm not used to seeing, because there's normally a reverse sort of triangle storage bins on the back there. And I've never seen photos of them deployed there. That's why I urge the devs to stop OOB DLCs after the Allied Trilogy and go to OOB 2. Yeah, I would too. I think it's time for it. From what I've gotten, and it's just sort of what's already put out in public domain already, nothing private information, is that the Soviet Union DLC sold fairly well, and they just thought, hey, sales were good. They wanted to expand into some of the console games to try to get into that market. And as part of doing that, they thought they would do the Allied and commit to the Allied the 3 DLCs. Let's move our reconnaissance aircraft up this way. See what's going on here. Okay, we just have those guys there. So I totally understand it. I don't even seeing it as milking it for more money. It's just because if there's a lot of people want to play these still, instead of delaying it a year or whatever and working on Order of Battle 2, putting out, but I do sort of think it's time, after this, unless you were to tell me, and we have this one really good idea for either a single DLC or another trilogy, and then I would buy into that. But if you can't spell out to me, oh well, you should, we should have a, I don't know, Battle of Atlantic DLC, or I don't know, something. I already sort of have some of that, but if you were able to spell something out to me that I would go, okay, it's missing that. Like a lot of people were asking for an Allies DLC in Europe for some time, and so unless you've got a really good idea for a DLC, nope. I think they should after this. Is it bad? I hadn't heard. I don't play on console. But I, as a player and as a streamer, like the idea of the consoles getting out there to have more, because there's still a lot of people that just aren't into PC gaming. To me, I have hard trouble sort of imagining that to some degree, but I know it's the case. And so, yeah, if we can get a whole nother large group of potential players into the genre of the games, not just OOB, but just the idea of, hey, real war games on, whether it's on consoles or people move to PCs, seeing all the good stuff that they can have there. I want to increase the player base. We'll see now. There we go. Now we're talking. Okay, so we're going to move these guys up. Before we do that, there. Yeah, I think we're gonna bomb our. Oh no, this guy. whittling him down while we think about this. Let's come over here and elite reinforce that. Yes, we're going to attack here. Oh, he falls back. But to where? How far? Okay. Yeah, we're not going to pursue him into the river because our goal is just to hold, not to take on everybody else. So far, this is looking pretty good. I know we're only halfway through the battle here, but... Okay. Yeah, well, we could, knock down the arcade. It's plaguing us a bit. Now, if you do notice here, all the enemy are starting out at 8 strength and not to 10, because I'm not playing it on a terribly hard difficulty. I'm just more showing off the game than thinking I'm challenging myself to a super challenging, game. Yeah, I know there's a genus, but nothing I think of. So if you find things too easy, either watching me or if you're playing it, you can up the difficulty levels. Destroyed bridge for some reason? I don't understand that. Okay, another air squadron was ready to deploy 3 air points. Okay, well, he can make it up to here, which is good. Because we're going to come up here and do some damage to them. And we're going to, I know it unentrenches us, but we'll push them way back like that. Here. I need to do a coordinated attack on this unit here. Okay. Way out there. Well. Reduce them by 1. These guys are launch. Fell back. Okay, well. Nope, we're not going into the river. Could do this. Make it a river of death for them. Played all the campaigns except for Burma Road. Had a lot of fun, but the engine is too obsolete. Well, it's getting that way. I guess I'm old and just used to a lot of these, older games, so it's not a big deal to me. Okay, let's go to force here. We're still being slightly plagued by Stukas, although some more ground attack would be nice. So let's bring you up here. You're at the airstrip there. I think that's about it for the turn that I really want to do, movement wise. I will criticize the AI a bit here, in that these river crossings that they're doing are piecemeal. Had they moved the Tiger, the Panzer III, and the heavy infantry all in the same time and attacked that Sherman, it would have been much better for them. But by them moving them in at different times, it's just allowed me to deal with them a little too easily. So coordinated, and I'm not saying I'm a good enough AI programmer to do a better job. But it would have been good to see some coordination. Okay, well, you fly over to here and you shoot all of these guys down. Well, not all of them, but some more shot down. Good. Okay. Launch that. Really can't get out. Let's move him over to here. Despite heavy tank attacks, our GIs managed to inflict serious damage on Rommel's veteran panzer formations. Fortunately for us, the Desert Fox cannot afford many losses. While we can replace lost hardware pretty soon, he'll have less tanks available in the next battle. Yeah, this is, quite honestly, and I was thinking about this while we were talking about Stalingrad earlier, that, the wisdom of even attempting to reinforce Rommel instead of withdrawing him from North Africa, his forces entirely. My understanding is about the same number of forces, maybe overall, but a lot of them are towards the end, are lost in North Africa as were lost in the Stalingrad campaign. Now, because there were lots of Italian units there as well. It wasn't just Panzer Armee Africa. And so that's bad, but I just don't know what the Germans are thinking. Again, and by this point, it's really become a German-dominated situation, more than just an Italian front. It starts off with as, an Italian theater of war, Kesselring. Remember, Kesselring is, in my opinion, Kesselring turns out to be the perfect German commander for the Mediterranean. Why is this? Well, Germany has little to no, but there's just little, some of their E-boats, light forces, a few submarines, and a few other coastal type stuff. So there's almost no naval operations, German naval operations in the Mediterranean. So you don't need a high-ranking, theater naval commander in there. And because it is a lot of oceans, islands, but it's sort of that combination of oceans and islands. It isn't the North Atlantic or something. It's, it's the Mediterranean and a lot of coastal areas. Air power can be incredibly effective. So Kesselring, Luftwaffe. I met a guy when I was a teenager who was a former German soldier who surrendered in Africa and ended up at POW camp in the USA for the rest of the war. Very interesting, P.S. And so he's, a Luftwaffe commander. But, Kesselring wasn't always a Luftwaffe commander. He was an artillery officer, I forget his rank, in World War I. So like all the other German generals, Manstein, Guderian, Rommel, Keitel, you just go on and on and on, are all World War I officers. Very few may have been World War I generals, but they were all World War I officers. A few were World War I generals, so they're all World War I officers, German army trained. So all the generals, basically, the German army generals. Some of the Luftwaffe generals, a lot of them were young, but a lot of them were World War I pilot, air officers in the First World War. But Kesselring is a ground artillery officer from World War I. So he has all that World War I experience on that battlefield and dealing with defensive operations. So he ends up for defending Italy being the perfect guy because of all that stuff. At least I can't think of another German general that would have done better. But he is still not in charge in the sense that Berlin, or whatever you want to call it, wherever the Hitler is sending off orders either for Rommel, because Kesselring is commanding Rommel in the early days, basically, well, through the whole thing, because he's theater commander. But Berlin is also interfering. Early on, through this whole career in the Mediterranean to some degree, he's dealing with Italian forces. But early on, it's an Italian theater that the Germans are helping in. So why do they want to reinforce? He said they surrendered to the British because they trusted them more, but the UK turned them over to the US and the Brits couldn't handle that many prisoners. Yeah, I can imagine, because even the Americans had trouble dealing with huge numbers of prisoners, because just all those mouths to feed, you didn't plan on all that extra food bringing in. And so they have to know, at least to some degree, I mean, they're not publicizing all of it, but they have to know to some degree the scale of American naval buildup. Hell, before the war, a lot of that's public. It's public debates in Congress on increasing the numbers of cruisers and battleships, and they're getting ready before Pearl Harbor. Before Pearl Harbor, they're doing a massive naval buildup. So Germany has to realize that supply, because they're already having trouble supplying, the Italian German forces against just the British in North Africa. Adding the Americans blocking, sure, as the game has talked about the rapid deployment of German forces before the Allies, because it's as much a British theater at the time as it is an American theater, the Mediterranean, before they can get enough naval and air forces to stop, free flow of units across the Mediterranean. Even if you're successful, even if you're moderately successful, what's your end goal? Probably Hitler believed Rommel was that good as to prevail against all odds. He was not really a retreating kind of guy. If he was more flexible, the war would have lasted probably 2 years more. Yes, you're right about about Hitler not being a retreating kind of guy. That's probably a lot of it. Yeah, I mean, it's sort of at the core, and again, talking about, the high command. Because if we look at because it's not just the German. They move a lot of Italian forces, replacing a lot of the lost forces into Tunisia. I think I don't have the facts and figures in front of me. I think there's well more Italian forces, combination of stuff that did manage to retreat out of Libya, as well as, reinforcements coming, more Italians than Germans in Tunisia. But they move lots of Italian forces, and the retreating units of the Africa Corps are now formed with new units into Panzer Armee Africa. So it's no longer a corps. It's larger than a corps. Right offhand, I don't know all the units. You guys can look it up on YouTube. Not YouTube, but on Wikipedia. But they have that sea and airlift command. And I know they're still, they're of course losing a lot of their airlift in flying in and out of the Stalingrad pocket. They're figuring that Gigant glider is a bust, meaning they don't have good enough glider tow planes, so they turn it into a big air transport aircraft that can take maybe not so much Panzer IIIs, but the 38Ts and Martyrs and other things they can put into it. That they should have used some of that early on to strike at Cyprus, and then once they got Cyprus, strike into, because it would not have been anything like D-Day. Either, if you're coming early enough before the British have taken out Syria, land into Vichy, Syria, or if the British have taken Syria, they're not defending the Palestinian, Syrian, Lebanese, whatever you want to call all of that coastal region at the time, in any sort of D-Day or anti-invasion like situation. And as we see with the aircraft, they can do air supply for a while, so they don't need to secure a port like Beirut or Tel Aviv. They can just come in near enough by, get ashore, and move rapidly to secure a port. And although there are rails going along their railways to shift forces pretty quickly, I think the British, I'm talking, early 41 kind of time here, that you could have, landed behind the British positions in Egypt and come in with a pincer movement. That would have been brilliant and successful. So this tells me, and I haven't looked at all the Italian shipping how many ships they have, how much cargo they can lift, but I really think they could have moved rapidly with a German movement supported by the Italian Navy and whatnot, behind and secure the Mediterranean. But once you get the Americans in war, once you get the retreat from El Alamein, and seeing that you're facing a major naval power, or two of them actually, and I get Hitler's not a retreating kind of guy, but try to use your strategic mobility on land, railway movement, at least thinking in those terms, and try to think in the terms of World War I, which all the high command of all these nations have seen. And remember Gallipoli, and remember Salonika. Salonika was basically a mega Gallipoli. It ends up being a huge sort of coastal pocket that the Allies pour huge numbers of resources in, and it ties up particularly Austro-Hungarian forces, but there's no great offensive north in Greece out of there, and so look at that sort of idea and not waste these forces going in there. The British Navy did not exist. Okay, but you don't need the British Navy or the British Navy isn't that big of a problem if you've moved the Luftwaffe significantly down into the Mediterranean. And you remember, the Luftwaffe is flexible. You can, sure, you have to think, okay, 2 weeks from now or whatever time it is, we're going to move a lot of Luftwaffe forces into the Mediterranean. So what do? Okay, we got to put, airplane mechanics, spare part supplies, fuel, whatever, on trains and get them to locations. And so then you can tell all your bomb, or a lot of your bomber pilot, or all your bomber pilots, and most of your fighter pilots from battling over Britain. This is like early 41. Now I would hold off on the invasion of the Soviet Union to secure the Mediterranean first. But even if you're doing that, you can quickly, at the right time, you can pull some of your air forces from the the Eastern Front, concentrate them down for the periods of escorting the major forces. You escort probably after Crete, Cyprus was, you're absolutely right that after Crete, Hitler forbids any major airborne assaults. But it doesn't need to be that way. It doesn't need to be a primarily airborne invasion. You don't have to give Goering everything he wants. So, but also remember, Crete, like the whole Greek campaign, is an afterthought. Had you really pushed, had you really planned, and not looked at the Soviet Union as the goal, but securing the Mediterranean, it would have been Crete would have been a whole different animal. And remember, they do own the Isle of Rhodes. Italy, since World War I, was owning the Isle of Rhodes, and so there was significant Italian infrastructure for air operations and what are there. So yeah, okay. Let's continue with the game. Just some of my thoughts here. Okay, so I think we've killed enough of their points, even though you're weak. Yeah, even though they're going to be better, we're just going to attack them while they're in the river, hopefully weaken them enough, not get too weak from ourselves, because we can move these guys up, as well as these guys. We're going to do them because the infantry is going to do better on the front. Now here, we did see the coordinated attacks here. Most afraid of the tiger. No real damage, so. Those infantry are really not much of a problem. These guys down here. Okay, they're weakened, I think, sufficiently. Okay, we're weakened some, but I think we're going to hold. At least I hope we will. These guys back here a bit, and we're going to reinforce it so I don't put the unit lost. Okay, you just came up. You attack. I don't know, it's maybe sort of like sometimes here I get a little too fixated on trying to hold some forward positions. not retreating is just because you've held North Africa, you feel you must try to continue to hold North Africa? Well, we're going to reinforce you. No, you didn't fire. Okay. Ooh, they're out of ammo, so I'm not going to worry too much about them. Okay. Run away. Where is he going? All right. Well, you come down here and shoot up our their units. You destroy those units, good. Them some. I'm just going to run away, and because I don't want to lose this one again. Hopefully hide from them well enough and repair. Reinforce. Down here. These guys are going to order the guys on the bridge. Also shoot back and reinforce. Is it random when the bridge gets destroyed or the bridge was given amount of hit points? No, what I did is actually I ended up sacrificing them, and then rebuilt a different unit. I had engineers stationed on the bridge, and if they're stationed there, they can blow the bridge. And unfortunately, I didn't have a good retreat path for them, so that's why they got taken out. But bridges are taken out by engineer units, so if you have one on the bridge, you can blow the bridge. So that's how it works. It isn't actually a game mechanic that way. Oh, they've got some 150 millimeter artillery. It's worth unentrenching to deal with the... Nope, we're just going to stay entrenched and defend. I like my entrenchment bonuses. reasonably okay positions here. I don't know why they went down to there. I don't know if that's a supply line grab. Just the AI being weird. Maybe falling back to get supplies. That could be. Now, if they're smart, they'd move that tiger out of the water and up onto the sandbank. Or just the desert road, whatever you want to call it. Right. Okay, well. I'm just going to keep pounding the and then I'm going to follow him down here. Got down the other one up there, of course, but come here. Shoot you down. They'll be able to strafe from here on out. At least we no longer have the annoyance of them anymore. These guys, we are going to fall back. These guys, oh shoot, I was hoping around to there. No, can't. Oh well, that was not a good move. Reinforce them for next turn. They're holding out okay. We're going to bombard the Hex because we believe there's somebody there. Yep. Even though we didn't see him. I just knew they would be. More these guys. They would be better against armor. Yeah, we'll see how well they do. These, I think they're fair. I don't know if these are like would be considered the cannon armed cannon armed Spitfires that they had. I don't know what the Mark 5Bs are. We sort of and all these have American markings on them. We sort of inherited them, and I haven't from the initial Torch landings. I have not upgraded them. So, or change them to over to some American-made models that might do better as that. Yeah, that could be cool too. I just don't know how often it was done. Because these aren't some small stream bridges. These are bigger bridges. I don't know. I could definitely see it as a thing that, destroying bridges with artillery or bombers would be useful. Okay. We've attacked with our aircraft. We've attacked with the units here. I just move you guys here. Just sort of, if it tries to drive out and swing around behind us, we've got. Oh, we had those forces. Yeah, we got plenty of forces here. They shoot. Yeah, they're almost out of ammo. Uh-oh, run away. Okay, they crossed. If they did this in a lot more coordinated version of attacks, I think they would be much further along than they are. This is mostly just desperation now. Looks like they'll survive. Maybe not doing very well. All right, well. Do is move these guys up here. All the way back there. No, I'm not. And these guys have already moved. Okay, well. Knock them down by 1 point. I'm surprised it's too late really to do too much to me, surprise wise. Okay. Here's my other fighters up somewhere. They're up in the sky, yes. As my friend Lum would say, right here. Okay. I think we're going to leave these guys entrenched because they're going to be hit by a lot of stuff potentially. If they're entrenched, they'll do a little better, I think. Could plant a minefield and withdraw, but I don't know that that's really the best option here. Dams could be improved with more destructible terrain, dam flooding, bridge destroying, mountain pass blockade. Yeah, that could be interesting, definitely. The Hurricane had good gun pods, not sure the caliber, but there were some tank hunters and more effective than HE bombs. Yeah, I just don't know enough about them to know which model, because at least I'm sort of familiar with the early Battle of Britain types that just have the 303 machine guns in them, and definitely later in the war with in the wings some like 20 millimeter or whatever it was, I forget, but cannon mounts. But if they had some gun pods, yeah, that can definitely be very destructive to tanks for sure. Okay, well, I think that's more or less all I really want to do this turn. But by February, oh, there's flak. Uh-oh, okay, don't want to stay there any longer. By February 43, I don't know the models of Spitfires well enough. This back. Well, lost my anti-tank guns. Stupid move by myself. Got ammo, they're moving up, they're gonna shoot. Yep, see them shoot. Okay, was it beam slam? Cool. Let's go after their artillery. Yes, I'm going to remember to fly away from their black guns. It's considerably weakened. These guys we will reinforce, and so with those, them entrenched, and okay. Last turn here. Major victory. We were caught by surprise mainly due to Lieutenant General Fredenal's command failure. Let's see how long this guy will remain in charge here. However, your leadership saved the day in the face of overwhelming odds. Well, since Lieutenant General Fredenal is so famous, we know that he does not last long in command. So I want to thank you all. I've enjoyed streaming with you here for Slithering TV. Of course, I'm Gamer1745, and most of you know that. Copy, if you're new here, you should hit the follow button here on Slithering TV, but you can also subscribe to my channel on YouTube and follow my Twitch channel, which I normally stream on the weekends for myself. So, but follow here. Many great streamers, many great games here on Slithering TV. So again, thank you all so much.